Welcome in. Just another impromptu stream. Hey, what are you gonna do? We're a couple weeks out uh, from voting day. We've got Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania with Adam Kinzinger, with Republicans, country over party. You guys can see it in the background. Uh, Kamala's making she's barnstorming across the country. She's making media appearance after media appearance. So let's listen in to what Adam Kinzinger has to say about this election. 82nd, what's up, man? Hello, hello. Good, good. Feeling good about the election, feeling good about polls. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like, are we not? We're not. His audio is not coming through. Let me fix that real quick. Boom. Here we go. What's up, Gigi? Hello, hello. Yeah. Oh, I think it's going to be, I think this is going to be one of the biggest electoral victories that we've seen in modern political history. Yeah, I think it's going to be a landslide. A lot of people are saying that the polls are so close that, um, you know, it's going to be a tight one. But every day, Donald Trump is making media appearances and he is just shooting himself in the foot. I mean, it really is. I just made a video about his disastrous. I got to turn this light down a little bit. NC Thorne, what's up, buddy? I just made a video about his disastrous Fox News. Oh my goodness, I am very close to the screen there. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just made a video about his disastrous Fox News interview. It was a female town hall event in which he just lied to these women about Roe v. Wade, lied to them about IVF. He complimented Katie Britt's appearance in front of all these women. Said, "Yeah, she's a good-looking woman." Just creepy. He's just so creepy, and the more and more people see him, I mean, beyond just January 6th and all of the utter nonsense that he put us through, yeah, I think it's over for him. Yeah, love the name. All right, let's get into adding Adam Kinzinger here, opening up for Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania.
Over our party, and like you, I'm putting my country first. And I thank you for being here. You know, as a young man, what drew me to the Republican Party was its ideals of supporting democracy, of standing for the rule of law, and of honoring the hallowed document that our founding fathers signed right here in this great state, the Constitution of the United States. And as a military guy, I've always respected strength in leadership. And Trump is the opposite of that. He's a whiny, weak, small, tiny man who is scared to death. You know, Donald Trump may be running as a Republican, but the truth is he does not share those long-held Republican values of supporting democracy, of standing for the rule of law, and of faithfulness to the Constitution. As a Republican, that saddens me. But what gives me hope is that there is a candidate in this race who does hold those values. You know, I know that Kamala Harris shares my allegiance to the rule of law, to the Constitution, and to democracy. Whatever policies we disagree on pale in comparison to those fundamental matters of principle, of decency, of fidelity to this nation. You know, democracy knows no party. Democracy is a living, breathing ideal that defines us as a nation. It's the bedrock that separates us from tyranny. And when that foundation is fractured, we must stand united to strengthen it. And I, like you, believe that those values are worth defending. And if you think those principles are worth defending, I urge you to make the conservative choice. Vote for our bedrock values and vote for Kamala Harris. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So Adam Kinzinger there with some just brief, very, very general words about the importance of, country over party. Let's get into Kamala Harris here. There was a couple who, these are Republican farmers who have had this farm in their family for, I think, since 1896, they said. Two-time Trump supporters, and now they're voting for Kamala Harris. Cassandra Reese, thank you for the 100 stars over on Facebook. Really appreciate it. If you guys are watching over on Facebook and you guys want to throw stars my way, that's a great way to support the channel. You can also on YouTube throw out like super chats, stuff like that. You can also sign up to become a member, click join if you guys want to help the channel. All of that just goes directly into more and more video and election coverage. Okay, let's get to Kamala here. Let's see, here she is. All right.
Good afternoon. Bob and Christina, thank you so very much for that introduction and for your friendship. And as I've said to all the friends and leaders on the stage with me, we had a chance to speak ahead of time. I thank you all for everything that you are doing and the courage you are showing. You know, this is an extraordinary climate right now. And I think we all recognize the courage that you are each showing to speak out so publicly and to put, as we are saying, because we truly believe in country over party. So thank you all. And can we please applaud Bob and Christina and all of the folks on the stage, please. Thank you. Thank you. Truly, truly, thank you. So if you all have a seat, please do sit. Yes. So as I think everyone here knows, we meet in a place that holds a very special meaning for our country. Here on Christmas night, 1776, General George Washington and over 2,000 troops crossed the icy Delaware River in darkness, then marched to Trenton, where they surprised an outpost of enemy soldiers and achieved a major victory in the American Revolution. And after we won the war and achieved our independence, delegates from across the nation gathered not far from here in Philadelphia to write and to sign the Constitution of the United States. And we remember and reflect on what that moment was, knowing that leading up to that work to write, to compose the Constitution of the United States, that work was not easy. The founders often disagreed, often quite passionately. But in the end, the Constitution of the United States laid out the foundations of our democracy, including the rule of law, that there would be checks and balances, that we would have free and fair elections, and a peaceful transfer of power.
Donald Trump, MAGA, are you guys listening? Kamala Harris is giving you a history lesson. Let's listen now. Let's pay attention, MAGA. Come on.
And these principles and traditions have sustained our nation for over 2 centuries. Sustained because generations of Americans from all backgrounds, from all beliefs, have cherished them, upheld them, and defended them. And now, the baton is in our hands. So I am joined today by over 100 Republican leaders from across Pennsylvania and across our country who are supporting my candidacy for President of the United States. And I am deeply honored to have their support. Some served in state houses, some in the United States Congress, some worked for other Republican presidents and presidential nominees, including Mitt Romney, John McCain, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan. And some today served in Donald Trump's own administration. We also have with us Republican voters from here in Pennsylvania and beyond, who have been active in their Republican parties for years, who have supported Republican candidates up and down the ticket. Now, I say all that to make an obvious point. In a typical election year, you all being here with me might be a bit surprising, dare I say unusual. But not in this election. Not in this election. Because at stake in this race are the democratic ideals that our founders and generations of Americans before us have fought for. At stake in this election is the Constitution of the United States, its very self. We are here today because we share a core belief that we must put country before party. Indeed, because we chant that with such great pride, because we all know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And at some point in the career of the folks who joined me on stage, one of the other things that we have in common is in our careers, we have each sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And so we know that sacred oath must always be honored and never violated, and that we should expect anyone who seeks the highest office in our land would meet that standard. We here know the Constitution is not a relic from our past, but determines whether we are a country where the people can speak freely and even criticize the president without fear of being thrown in jail or targeted by the military. Where the people can worship as they choose without the government interfering. Where you can vote without fear that your vote will be thrown away. All of this and more depends on whether or not our leaders honor their oath to the Constitution. I have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution 6 times, including as Vice President, as a United States Senator, and as the top law enforcement officer of the largest state in our country. And I have never wavered from upholding that oath. And this is a profound difference between Donald Trump and me. He, who violated the oath, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And make no mistake, he who, if given the chance, will violate it again. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. And he refused to accept the will of the people and the results of a free and fair election. He sent a mob, an armed mob, to the United States Capitol, where they violently assaulted police officers, law enforcement officials, and threatened the life of his own vice president. And he refused to engage in the peaceful transfer of power. Were it not for the courage and patriotism of Vice President Pence that day, Donald Trump might have actually succeeded in overturning the will of the American people. Let's reflect on that. And now, Donald Trump is telling us how he intends to use power if he is elected again. He has stated that one of the biggest threats America faces is, quote, the enemy from within. The enemy from within. But know where that language harkens back to. Understand, and let us be clear about what he is saying. He considers any American who doesn't support him or bend to his will to be an enemy to our country. And further, he says that as commander-in-chief, he would use our military to go after them. Honestly, let that sink in. Use of the American military to go after American citizens? And we know who he would target first, because he has targeted them and attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Nonpartisan election officials who refuse to cheat by finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of following him. It is clear Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And he is seeking unchecked power. Consider what his closest advisors have said. His national security advisor, 2 defense secretaries, his former chief of staff, his own vice president, all have warned America Donald Trump is unfit to serve. Or listen to General Milley, Donald Trump's top general. He has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core, and said, quote, no one has ever been as dangerous to this country. So think about that. General Milley served in uniform for more than 40 years, commanding American forces around the world. He has confronted some of America's worst enemies. And he is saying, no one has ever been as dangerous to our country as Donald Trump. America must heed this warning, because anyone who tramples on our democratic values, as Donald Trump has, anyone who has called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States, as Donald Trump has, must never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. And to those who are watching, if you share that view, no matter your party, no matter who you voted for last time, there is a place for you in this campaign. The coalition we have built has room for everyone who is ready to turn the page on the chaos and instability of Donald Trump. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans. And I take that pledge seriously. I take that pledge quite seriously. So as I've mentioned, many of you know, I spent a career as a prosecutor in law enforcement, and I will tell you, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? I never asked of anyone who needed help, if anyone who deserved attention, where were they registered and who did they vote for? The only question I ever asked was, are you okay? And that is the kind of president I pledge to you that I will be. That is my pledge to you. Because we have too much to do and too much good work to do to be relegated to requiring each of us to be in some silo, disconnected from each other. There's too much good to be done. And the challenges that we face as a nation require us, if we truly want to create solutions and strengthen our nation, the approach truly requires that we understand we're all in this together. This is so much more than rhetoric or a campaign. It really is about tapping into the spirit of who we are as Americans. Because we are all in this together. We are all in this together. And so I pledge to be a president who actively works to unite us around our highest aspirations. I pledge to you to be a president who is realistic and practical and has common sense, and to always fight for the American people. Unlike Donald Trump, who frankly, as we have seen, cares more about running on problems than fixing problems. I want to fix problems, which means working across the aisle. It requires working across the aisle. It requires embracing good ideas from wherever they come. That is why I have pledged to appoint a Republican in my cabinet. That is why I have pledged to establish a council on bipartisan solutions to recommend to me common sense solutions to some of the most pressing issues facing our country. Because nobody has a corner on the good ideas. They actually come from many places. And one should, especially if they want to be a leader, one should welcome those ideas. And those ideas, which are about, in particular, strengthening the middle class, securing our border, defending our freedoms, and maintaining our leadership in the world. And all of this is to also say that I believe for America to be the world's strongest democracy, we must have a healthy two-party system. Because it is when we have a healthy two-party system that leaders are then required to debate the merits of policy and to work, yes, across the aisle, regularly and routinely to get things done. And I have experienced firsthand how important and rewarding that kind of bipartisan cooperation can be. So I'll tell you, when I was a United States Senator, I served on the Senate Intelligence Committee. It was actually my favorite committee for a number of reasons, but specifically this. There we dealt with some of the most pressing issues affecting national security. There we would talk about hotspots around the world and what we needed to do to focus on keeping America safe and secure. And to do that, we would review classified information, which required us to meet in a secure room. Adam, you know, it's called a SCIF. Okay. When we would go in that room, with all due respect, no cameras were allowed. No press. And we would roll up our sleeves and get to work. I'm telling you, senators of both parties would walk in that room, take off their suit jackets, roll up their sleeves, have a cup of coffee on the table, and we would have real conversations. Real conversations. As Americans. Because we understood that what happened in that room, well, the stakes were so high. And therefore, it could not be, we could not afford to let it be, about whether one was a Democrat or a Republican. The stakes were too high. We were in that room, and it was all about us as Americans, about doing what is in the best interest of the safety and security of our nation. I loved that work. And it was what we have as the theme of today. It was country over party in action. In action. So I know it can be done. And that is the standard of leadership and the aspiration that I have in terms of how we will work when, with your help, I am elected President of the United States. So, thank you. So, we got to get to work. So, let me just say an obvious point. There's a fundamental choice in this election, a very fundamental choice. A choice between the leadership that I pledge to offer to America, leadership that brings folks together, that builds consensus and focuses on making life better for you, with the knowledge that we have so much more in common than what separates us. And on the other hand, the choice of someone who I think we can guarantee will sit in the Oval Office plotting retribution, stew in his own grievances, and think only about himself and not you. So as I have said, our campaign is not a fight against something, it is a fight for something. It is a fight for the fundamental principles upon which we were founded. It is a fight for a new generation of leadership that is optimistic about what we can achieve together. Republicans, Democrats, and independents who want to move past the politics of division and blame and get things done on behalf of the American people. And when it all comes down to it, I know we are all here together this beautiful afternoon because we love our country. We love our country. And we are here because we know the deep privilege and pride that comes with being an American, and the duty that comes along with it. And the duty that comes along with it. Imperfect though we may be, America is still that shining city upon a hill that inspires people around the world. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. So, to people from across Pennsylvania and across our nation, let us together stand up for the rule of law, for our democratic ideals, and for the Constitution of the United States. And in 20 days, we have the power to chart a new way forward, one that is worthy of this magnificent country that we are all blessed to call home. Thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.
Okay, that was phenomenal. That speech. Okay, so much to talk about. So much to talk about really quick, just because I see it coming up in the chat. Real Bill P, 3 months of membership here on Reflect. Man, can't say thank you enough. I do want to say hello to Lenny in the chat. Weldon, Sister Soul. Who else am I missing real quick here before we get into this speech? Man, so many of you just tuning in for this last second. Just kind of like I said in the beginning, just kind of impromptu live stream. NC Thorne, I see you. Angela Smith, I see you. Christina Turner, you were active. Okay. We've got over 100 likes, almost 150 viewers across YouTube, Facebook, and I'm also live streaming on Instagram. My handle is Reflect. I think it's Reflect Video. Reflects Graham. I think it is. I don't post too much, but okay. So let's talk about this speech because of the historic context and what it means for right now, what it means for the era of Donald Trump, and what it means for us moving forward as a country, not just as a country, but on the global level. And I just think that Kamala and her team are, I think somebody said that she's so, the clarity of Kamala Harris, I think is just remarkable and inspirational. So I've got just a number of notes about this speech that I want to talk about. She was at the location of where George Washington started his journey across the Delaware in order to build a new nation. And that is where Kamala is right now. The era of Donald Trump has ripped this country apart. And while the left and a lot of us progressives and liberals want to see a push for dramatic change, which I think we will see under Kamala Harris, right now in this campaign, all she's doing is just reinsuring and ensuring Republicans and moderates that she will be true to the Constitution and the fundamentals of this country. That's one thing she kind of closed with, right? This is about a fight for the fundamental principles of our nation. Um, I did see. I think it was. I think Weldon was talking about how she's losing voters because she's appealing to kind of centrists and she's being a centrist. I think that's a very measured approach. And while she might lose some voters on the left, uh, that she's picking up moderates throughout the country and former Republicans throughout the country. I mean, the two people who I can bring them up on the screen, these two people, they're two-time Trump voters who say that I can't deal with another Trump term. And so I think she's just taking a very measured approach to say, hey, look, like I am going to be true to the Constitution and to the oath of the presidency because the alternative is a man who is threatening to use the military on American citizens, right? That is the alternative. And that should be scary. I made a video about this when it all was going down. Trump in that Bartiromo interview said he's going to, possibly use the military on the extreme radical left. And my whole kind of plea to people and people in the MAGA cult is, what makes you think that he's going to stop with the extreme left or journalists or Democrats? He had over 40 people in his staff work with him who said, look, we can't have him. He's dangerous. He cannot be the president again. He's going to go after them. Do you want to live in a world where, you may think you're safe from Donald Trump's retribution, but you're living in a very, very precarious situation where one move that you make could end up resulting in the military knocking on your door? Do you want that world? Do you want to live in that fear? They think MAGA thinks that they're owning the libs by saying, oh man, they're going to be so scared with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. He'll use the military if he has to. Yeah, he'll use it against you if you slip up. Let's wake up. Let's wake up. There's no limits to what this guy would do if he gets back into the White House. So let's talk about Kamala Harris now, right? And this approach to this campaign, right? And let's talk about what she'll do when she's in the White House, because as soon as she's elected with a Democratic Congress and a Democratic Senate, we are talking about a major overhaul. And again, going back to the beginning of this speech and where she's speaking from, Washington Cross, PA, you can see it there. George Washington was about to build a new nation, the start of a new nation. And Kamala Harris, and that's the beautiful thing about this country, is that she gets to, and our presidents get to, every 4 years, every 8 years, they get to embark on a crossing of the Delaware to get to build a new country how they see fit. And we know Kamala from her time as AG during in California. She is going to focus on rehabilitating Americans who have been imprisoned in this country. A lot of Black men who have been imprisoned in this country. She's going to convince a lot of moderates and Republicans and Americans that this is the way to go about doing things. She can convince Americans that investing in children and in schools and in teachers and in colleges and in infrastructure and in a Green New Deal is the best way to go forward. She can convince people who are brainwashed by Donald Trump about immigrants and immigration that hating others is not the way to move forward. And then what's that going to do? She kind of hit it right at the end. She said that this is about America's role in the world, right? Not only are we going to see a new America under Kamala Harris, but this will have a global impact on leadership in the world. And this speech, I just thought, that speech should go down as a historic speech for Kamala Harris, the way it tied in Washington, a new nation, the fundamentals of this country, where she's going and what she wants, how she wants our country to to come together and uh, to fight off, to ward off the Trump MAGA, it's us against them mentality. So another thing she talked about was bringing in a Republican into her cabinet, and she talked about someone who would help strengthen the middle class, help strengthen the border, and help defend our freedoms. And so I kind of am curious here. Like, I brought up the cabinet positions, and I just wanted to talk about, like, okay, what is a cabinet position that a Republican could be appointed to? Like, I think Secretary of Defense might be one, but I don't know if that's usually like a general, right? Let's see, Secretary of Defense. Those are like General Milley, right? Those are typically generals. Yeah, like Lloyd J. Austin and whatnot. So like the interior, we don't want Republicans anywhere near energy and natural resources. I think a Secretary of Agriculture, if it's Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, I think someone who's not the kind of RFK MAGA conspiracy theorists, I think they would be okay with the interior. Not labor, uh, not commerce, just because the Republican Party can't be trusted with science. Her housing and urban development, no. Health and human services, no. Transportation, I think so. I think so. Absolutely not with education. Absolutely not with energy. Veterans Affairs, possibly. And then there's Homeland Security, right? Secretary of Homeland Security, I think, should actually go to Pete Buttigieg. But I could also see a Republican. I could see Kinzinger or Liz Cheney being the Secretary of Homeland Security, because what is the one thing that we know Republicans are going to do after 2024, after January, when Kamala Harris is put in? She's going to, or they're going to attack immigration again, because what's going to happen? Donald Trump is going to launch his presidency right when he loses, right? So that he can say, oh, these investigations, these trials, they're all coming at me because I'm the president. I'm the presidential candidate again. So he's going to do that, and then he's going to stick to the same playbook, right? He's going to try to say that he won, and then it's going to be overwhelming that he lost, and then he's just going to continue to attack them on immigration. And so what would truly mess him up is if a Republican is the Secretary of Homeland Security, the guy who right now it's Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy they tried to impeach, the guy they have been attacking for years. So those are just some ideas that, might come to fruition. I don't know. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. Just I think this is just an incredible speech. I am so excited, and I feel like I'm so lucky to be in the position to cover a Kamala Harris administration. I covered the Obama administration over with my brother on a channel called The Daily Conversation, which now has over 1 million subscribers. My brother is focusing on documentaries about cities and how different nations are approaching the challenges of tomorrow, which I think you guys should absolutely go and check out if you guys get a chance, and tell him Brendan sent you. But yeah, so now I get to do this, and I'm just so excited to help, this new administration, with the help of all you guys, to build a better country. It looks like we've got a new member. Let's see. Sister Soul, welcome to the channel. Yes, welcome. Yeah, I want to talk to you guys in chat now. I was just kind of going with my notes here. Brendan, I like the idea of having Republicans in her cabinet, but I don't want them using it to their advantage for the Republican election for 2028. Yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be the thing that her balancing act, right? Okay, so how is she going to, you know, how is she going to make it so that they're not going to turn on her and use this Republican against her? And that's why I think the Secretary of Homeland Security and having a Republican handle the border would be just the chef's kiss, because that's all Republicans have, right? That's all they have. That's all they do, right? We saw it during the debate. Trump, every question, immigration, immigrants, Haitian immigrants, yada, 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 right? So let's put a Republican in in that position, and then all Donald Trump will be able to complain about is how, oh, he'll just spread more conspiracy theories about how, oh, well, Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, they were part of the select committee, so they just don't like Donald Trump. And it's like, but how is that gonna motivate voters in 2028 if a Republican is sitting and controlling the border or helping to control the border? I think that would just be a beautiful move by Kamala Harris. So we'll see. A lot of we're not going back. I love that. Yeah, no, we're not going back. And looking at the turnout of Georgia voters, almost 100,000 more people in Georgia turned out than in 2020, which was already a record. I mean, that's what makes me think that this is going to be, if 82nd Airborne is still in here, that's what makes me think that this is going to be just a total just kind of annihilation of Donald Trump in this election. Yeah, Weldon, you're on the same page as I am, man. Yeah. Real Bill P. My children's future and I don't know why I have such a tough time saying your name. It's the Real Bill P. Real Bill P. My children's future and my grandchildren's future are at stake. I earned a wheelchair serving this country. I refuse to believe this country is a lost cause. We are not going back. Bill, man, thank you for your service and thank you for your comments. Sister Soul says, my skin color is all he sees. Yeah, I'm guessing you're talking about Donald Trump. Man, I can't imagine going through life like that and seeing that monster as the chief executive in this country for 4 years. I mean, I get angry, but I just can't imagine what Black and brown people feel like watching his racism, day in, day out, watching today he was asked about a young Black woman who died because she couldn't get the healthcare services, the abortion care services, and he laughed. And he laughed and scoffed and made a joke about the ratings that her family will bring in because of the messages that they were gonna share before the female town hall that he had today with Harris Faulkner, which is another video that I made on the channel today. It's just the disaster that was, lying about Roe v. Wade during this female town hall, talking about how Katie Britt is attractive in a room full of women, talking about how energy will bring down the price of donuts because the stove. Just insane. So Donald Trump continues to open his mouth and to remind us all of the ignorant, pathetic, lazy coward that he is. And over the next couple weeks, the American public is going to see him and be reminded of that and wholeheartedly reject him. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is out here giving just amazing speeches like this was. And this ain't the last of it. And like Kamala Harris said there, that was another note that I wanted to just briefly talk about. He is getting increasingly unstable and unhinged. And so let's be aware that it's only going to get worse from here. And so we need to be strong, and we need to keep our heads held high, and we need to refuse the idea that it is an us versus them world. That we, like Kamala Harris said, we are all in this together, and we have such an amazing opportunity to build this country the way that we want to leave it, the way that we want to see it, the way that we know it can be in the future. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Kamala Harris is giving us a Fox News interview. That was another point I wanted to make. Donald Trump was on Fox News today, just it was a nightmare. Kamala Harris is now going to get to speak to these people tonight, and that is at, I think, 6 p.m. So I don't know if that's like, I think it's 6 p.m. East Coast, 6 p.m. West Coast. I think that's just how they do it. I'm not too sure, but I will try to stream that. So yeah. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so that you will get that notification. Also, go ahead and check out my coverage of the Harris Faulkner Donald Trump female town hall. And yeah, again, welcome, Sister Soul. It's glad to have you on the team. Thorn, Weldon, Lenny, Angela, Gigi, thank you. Bill P, thank you. Another Christina. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in this kind of last second live stream. Cool. Looking forward to meeting the friends. Okay. I'm going to sign off and see what else is going on for the day. Maybe I can get some more videos on. Yes, she's going to kill the Fox News interview. So I'm looking forward to watching it with all of you. It should be a blast. So cheers, and I will see you guys in a few hours.